Welcome everyone to Alford's annual town meeting. First order of business is the swearing in of the clerk. Kathy, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of the clerk?
I will.
Thank you. I see a few new faces here, so I'm going to go over a couple of elements of town meeting quickly. One thing that most of you know is we need 4 things to constitute a meeting. A warrant, which I hope you all have a copy of, as prepared by the select board. We have a clerk, who has just been sworn in, and a moderator, hello. And we need a quorum of 15 voters. Kathy, do we have a quorum?
Yes. Yep.
We do. Okay, thank you.
26 and 12.
For those of you who don't know me,
38.
let me introduce myself. I'm Michael Wilcox, and I live on East Road.
39.
I will begin with a portion of the land acknowledgement that you should have also received as a handout, so I won't read the whole thing. You can read it for yourself, but I invite you now to join with me in acknowledging our gratitude and in giving our thanks to the people who tended this land that is now our town for thousands of years before Europeans arrived. Today we call these people the Mohicans. Their council fire is now in Wisconsin. Their own name for themselves is Mahikoniuk, which means the people of the waters that are never still. A reference to the river they call the Mahikonatuk, which is also known as the Hudson River. Their homeland stretches from the upper reaches of Manhattan to the shores of the Pawtucket, which is the double lakes of Lake Champlain and Lake George, and that includes all of Berkshire County. Prior to the arrival of deadly European diseases, I estimate that there could well have been 600 to 700 people living here in Podunk, which was an Algonquian name for our town, more than the current population of about 500. By the time the first English colonists arrived, there may have been only a few native families here, or they may have moved to nearby Indian town, which by then was known as Stockbridge. Our town now probably looks pretty much like it did in those pre-colonial Indian days, with the center of the valley being used for agriculture and the wooded mountainsides used for hunting. So please join with me in acknowledging and thanking the Mahikoniuk, who retain an active interest and a fondness for their ancestral homeland. On our behalf, I say to them, Onewa, which is the Mohican word for thank you, and Anushik, which is the Munsee word. In the Benaki, the expression is uni uni. These are Algonquian dialects. I'm told they can all understand each other despite their regional differences. The Munsee homelands are to our south in New Jersey, Delaware, and Maryland. And the Abenaki homelands are to our north in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, as well as in French and Maritime Canada. To all of them and to the other native people of the Northeast, I say thank you. I just want to mention a couple of things quickly. The property across the street, which is known as the Parsonage, you will see has a new sign there. It says number 9 Center Road, Alford Center Road. It used to be number 7. So if you see references in the various documents to 7 or 9 or the Parsonage, it's all the same property right there. And Peggy, do you want to remind people about the election next week?
Yes. The town election is next week.
Take the microphone from Dave there.
Thank you. The town election is next week from 12 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the town hall. One-way traffic, come in, vote, and exit out the kitchen. Thank you.
Which day next week?
What day? Next Tuesday.
Thank you.
What time?
12 to 6.
Thank you. Okay, a couple of points of order. I just invite you to observe the difference between an article and a motion. The articles are things that are in the warrant, and you will note, if you notice, you also have a list of the motions that have been proposed for this meeting. The motions will be a little bit different from the articles. In some cases, it's a very subtle difference. In other cases, it's quite much more detail in the motion. So I just wanted to point out that the article and the motion are not the same thing. So we vote on the motion, not on the article. So pay attention to what the motion says. Also, I was expecting that the superintendent would be here. She's not? She's on her way. Okay. So we'll wait. I was going to rearrange things a little bit to, as we usually do out of courtesy to the school people, but we'll wait till they get here. And the only other point of order here is that the superintendent is the only person who has the right to speak at town meeting other than voters, or Alford registered voters. But we do have a couple of people here who, with the consent of the meeting, can speak. Our road superintendent, Monty Green, and also TJ Horgan, who is also here to answer questions about the highway department activities. So without objection, I will give them permission to speak in the meeting.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
we also have our town council here, Joe Bard.
Yes, oh, sorry. Joel, yes. Joel Bard, welcome. Thank you for coming. And you, again, without objection, Joel will be permitted to speak to the meeting should the occasion arise. Okay. Without further ado, then, we will proceed to the business at hand. And traditionally, in our town, the moderator has read the article in the warrant. Last year, we dispensed with that because of trying to keep the meeting short in our first COVID meeting. And today, we have a reason to keep the meeting short for different reasons, as you can tell. So I'm not going to read all of the articles, but I will point out what the general purpose. So Article 1 is a housekeeping thing, and Peter Pusilazzi, one of our select board members, will make the motion.
Peter Pusilazzi, East Street. I move that the town authorize the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health to appoint any member of the Board of Selectmen or Board of Health respectively to another office or position for the term provided by law, if any, otherwise for a term not to exceed 1 year, in accordance with Section 4A of Chapter 41 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Charlie Kiffin. Any questions about this article? I forgot to mention that, as you all know, you received, when you arrived, you received 2 voter cards. The yellow card is to be used for voting, and the red card is, you can raise it at any time if you want to speak to the meeting and get my attention. Hopefully I will see it, otherwise just shout out. So, if there is no discussion of the motion, we will move to vote. All those in favor, please raise your yellow card. All right, thank you. And I guess we should use the red card for no, why not? So all those opposed, raise the red card. The motion carries unanimously. Article 2 is also a fairly routine housekeeping item that comes up every year. And again, Peter will make the motion to that.
I move that the town accept any and all funds being provided by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Transportation under the provisions of Chapter 90 of the Massachusetts General Laws to pay for such costs as allowed by appropriate legislation in connection with the maintenance, repair, and construction of town ways and bridges.
All right, thank you. We have a second. Are there any questions about this article, this motion? No? All right, well then, all in favor, please raise your yellow card. Any opposed, please raise your red card. The motion carries unanimously. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to fix the maximum amount that may be spent on revolving funds. The chair of our finance committee, Joan Rogers, will make the motion.
I move that the town fix the maximum amount that may be spent during fiscal year 2022, beginning on July 1, 2021, at $10,000 for the fire, sanitation, electrical, and plumbing inspectors revolving funds established in the town's bylaws for certain departments, boards, committees, agencies, and officers in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half.
Do I have a second? Okay. Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions, any discussion? All right. Oh, yes. Oh, Bruce. Yes.
Is this new money, or is this something else?
Could you stand and give your name and street?
Yes, sure. Bruce Schreiber, West Road, 281 West Road. Is this a new allocation, or is this just a repeat that has to be refunded every year? We vote on every year?
We traditionally have a revolving fund for these inspectors. It has been $5,000, and Roxanne will correct me if I'm wrong, but due to the increase in activity and more fees generated and more expenses, thank you, we needed to raise the amount of the amount that can be spent, because these accounts could not spend anything more than authorized. So an increase in activity prompted an increase in the limit. Is that fair to say?
Yes. But it's also a revolving account, so what gets spent out of there gets put in there by whoever the inspector is. So if the fire chief does an inspection and $50 goes in, he gets 90% of that. So it does not cost the town any money.
Thank you very much. Did that answer your question, Bruce?
Yes, thank you.
Any other question about this motion? All right, then all in favor, please raise your yellow card. Thank you. Any opposed, please raise your red card. Don't see any, so the motion carries unanimously. Article 4 is about the repairs to the highways, and again, Joan will provide the motion.
I move that the town raise and appropriate $150,000 to pay the cost of repairs and improvements to Alford's highways.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any question or discussion about this? Yes, yeah.
What are the,
Could you identify yourself? You have to use the microphone.
Jeff Blogrand, 57 Green River Valley Road. What projects are planned for this year for the roads to be fixed?
You want to go right ahead, explain them what you're doing.
This year we plan on fixing your road. The game plan is from town line to town line on Route 71, Green River Valley Road. Basically resurface the road and fix the drainage on the road, because there's blacktop swales that are filled with sand, debris. and we're hoping to have the whole section of road paved from end to end.
Which is a lot more than that 150, but.
Same guy, different question. Are there any state funds available for that because of it being a state route?
So this warrant basically only is going to pay for maybe half of what's being done. The rest is from Chapter 90 money, which this year was released for $71,258, and whatever was carried over from last year that wasn't spent, which is right around $70,000.
All right, any other questions? Bruce?
Hi, Bruce Schreiber again, 281 West Road. So there's already money in the budget for this type of thing. This is above and beyond? That's a question.
Can you clarify money in the budget, extra money in the budget, or money already in the budget?
Don't we have an annual budget for road repair?
Yes and no. The highway budget is basically for simple, basic road maintenance, patching, stuff like that. To do a job like this, you're looking at a lot more money than what our actual highway budget is. And so that's why we put it as a special article, because this is a job that we'd like to have done, but we understand that if the townspeople don't want to pay for it or don't think it's worth the money, we understand that. So that's why we don't put it into our main budget.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions on this article, on this motion? All right, then we'll move to a vote. Oh, Tom, you asking a question?
No.
Oh, you're ready to vote? Okay, all in favor, raise your yellow card. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your red card. As far as I can tell, the motion passes unanimously. All right. Article 5 covers the transfer of funds. This requires excuse me. This article requires two motions because we have two separate things to do. We need to transfer funds from the stabilization fund, which requires a 2/3 majority vote to approve. And then we need to have a vote to spend that and other money out of free cash. So Joan will make both motions one at a time, I hope.
Yes. First motion, I move that the town transfer $100,000 from the stabilization fund to free cash.
I'll second that motion.
Charlie seconds, thank you. Are there any questions about this transfer of funds from the stabilization fund to free cash? All right, Bruce, yes. You need to identify yourself again, you can just ask the question.
Just hold the microphone or?
Just how much money is in the stabilization fund? How much is this going to drain? This drains 100,000, what's left?
307,000 is in there, so you'll have 207,000 left.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, then we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the transfer, please raise your yellow card. Thank you. All opposed, raise your red card. The vote is unanimous and therefore more than 2/3. Thank you. Joan?
I move that the town authorize spending $195,000 from free cash to purchase a single axle dump truck and snow plowing equipment.
All right, we have a second. Is there any question about this purchase, use of these funds for the purchase of a dump truck and equipment? Yes.
Zach Tolbert, 10 Westwood Road. So question is, it seems like an awful lot of money for a dump truck. So question number one is that all new equipment? And number two is, have we looked at buying used equipment from a different municipality and, factoring in maintenance costs.
Who wants to answer that?
So yes, this is all new equipment. Why we're replacing the older truck, it's 10 years old, is we have basically a capital plan that the big dump truck that we're replacing is replaced every 10 years, because anytime past that, you start to spend a lot of money on repairs. And that's why we wouldn't want to buy used, because of what the truck does, the life it lives in, the salt, the calcium, all that stuff. And that's why we try to replace it, because as soon as any type of rust or corrosion happens, it's something that you're constantly chasing. And that's why we're buying a new truck instead of used. I think this truck would possibly make somebody a nice truck for a few more years, but buying used, you're buying someone else's headaches, and especially in this business, it's a frontline truck. Middle of a snowstorm, you don't want to break it down.
May I just add to that? All right. That by taking the money from the stabilization fund, which is effectively the town's savings account, and combining it with free cash monies, which are effectively the checking account, we're using our own funds for this. So in doing that, it should not impact the tax rate. Okay, we're not taking new monies in. And traditionally, the town will put excess money from free cash into stabilization every year, into the savings account conceptually. And we use this account to smooth over when we have a large expenditure such as this, so that we don't have to go out and borrow. So, last year, I think we put $40,000 into stabilization. So, assuming everything goes well, we would expect to be replenishing that $100,000 that we're taking out over the next couple of years.
Any other questions or comments about this?
Yeah, just one follow-up question. So are we planning on selling the old truck as well?
Trade it.
Okay.
Traded in.
Okay. Good deal.
So the 195 is net after trading?
What was that?
I basically had the same question. The 195 counts the trade-in, it's net?
Is net, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, then we're now voting on the use of $195,000 to purchase a truck and equipment. All in favor, please raise your yellow card. Thank you. Any opposed, please raise your red card. Seeing none, I think the vote is unanimous. Thank you. Article 6 is, again, about the property across the street, which in this case, in the warrant, it says 7 Alford Road. The sign says 9 Alford Road, so actually, shouldn't that be Alford Center Road? Yeah, anyway. So, just so we're clear, we're talking about that property, the parsonage it's also known as. So Joan will make the motion here.
I move that the town authorize spending $50,300 from free cash to pay the cost of debt service on the 9 Alford Center Road property.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this motion?
How big is the debt on this property, and how much are we paying down? We're paying down, is it interest or is this principal we're paying down?
That's interest and principal. The debt in total is $231.
It started at 235. This year we put down 47,000, so I think our principal is 188,000. We finance it through 1-year State House notes, and this year our interest rate was 0.04%. Sorry, yes, 0.4, yes. So we're paying less than 1% on our interest this year, so.
So why are we paying down any of it?
Because we have to pay the principal down. Because we have a debt on that building. It's like a mortgage.
I know it's like a mortgage, but you know, I don't pay a third of my mortgage every year, or a quarter of my mortgage.
What's the question?
Well, I don't understand the question.
What's the question?
What's
What's the question,
okay,
why we have
What-
a
My
5-year term?
question is, why are we making such a large pay down on the debt if the interest rate is close to zero? Why don't we just pay down the minimum amount and carry the debt? Because the debt costs us nothing.
Because the interest rate isn't only good for 1 year, and next year, the interest rate could be 3 or 5 or who knows what percent. So that's just the way the finance committee and the select board have decided. I mean, originally, we were gonna put down $40,000 a year, and this year we'll be able to put down like 47. And once we get rid of the debt, we own it debt-free.
I could just add, that the concept was when we can afford to pay things down, we do, so that if something comes up in the future, like let's say something regarding the school, or we have, I don't know, some massive road collapse here, that we're, you know, that we're investing in the town when we have the ability to. And we have that flexibility now, and the cost of money is really cheap. So we're taking advantage of the low cost of money, and we're trying to pay it off so that we can be debt-free to do other investments in the future. That was basic thinking.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we're ready for a vote then. All those in favor, please raise your yellow card. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your red card. We have 2 noes. The yellow cards carry, the motion passes. Article 7, it has to do with emergency medical services, and again, Joan will make the motion.
I move that the town raise and appropriate $3,500 for emergency medical services.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second, and are there any questions about this, this motion? Yes.
I'm East 2 East Road. I'm just interested what the medical services are that you're able to provide.
It's generally the ambulance service.
Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Russ Callahan, East Road. I was just curious at how we come to that specific figure for this.
Last year, we were paying a specific amount requested by the Southern Berkshire Ambulance Service, and this year, they are in somewhat of a state of flux, and we haven't gotten a formal request from them, so this is somewhat of a placeholder number. Last year was 2,700 approximately, so we upped it a little bit, and we have a placeholder in the budget for that.
Thank you. I was just curious. I wasn't challenging it.
Yeah, no, I'm just, Roxanne, anything else?
No,
yeah.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll move to a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your yellow card. Any opposed? Please raise your red card. Seeing none, I think I declare the vote to be unanimous. Moving right along to Article 8, it involves the Alford Link Enterprise Fund retained earnings. Joan will make that motion as well.
I move that the town transfers $30,000 from retained earnings of the Alford Link Enterprise Fund to the Alford Link Enterprise Stabilization Fund in accordance with the provisions of Section 5B of Chapter 40 of the General Laws.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions about this transfer? Seeing none, please raise your yellow card if you are in favor of this transfer, this motion. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your red card. Seeing none, I will declare the vote unanimous in favor. The motion carries. Article 9 has to do also with the Alford link borrowing, and Joan again will make the motion.
I move that the town spend $17,000 from retained earnings of the Alford Link Enterprise Fund to pay debt service on the Alford Link broadband borrowing.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions about this? Yes, Jeff?
Just want to let you know the superintendent's here.
Oh, okay, thank you. That's it. Please come in and have a seat.
Oh dear, well, I'm gonna stand so I can move. It's a little chilly.
Okay, all right. Thank you for pointing that out. Anyway, any question about the motion? Any discussion of the motion? All right, then we're moved to vote. All in favor, please raise your yellow cards. Any opposed, please raise your red card. Seeing no red cards, I declare the vote is unanimous and the motion carries. Well, we were going to take your budget items out of order, but we're almost there anyway, so perfect timing. So, Article 10. I haven't skipped one, have I? Article 10 has to do with the budget of the Alford Link Enterprise. And again, Joan will make the motion.
I move that the town appropriate the sums shown in the fiscal year 2022 column of Article 10 in the warrant for this meeting to be taken from receipts of Alford Link to operate the Alford Link Enterprise.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions about this budget? Okay, then I guess we're ready for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your yellow card. Thank you. Any opposed, please raise your red card. Seeing none, again, I declare this a unanimous vote. The motion carries. All right, and now we can move into Article 11, which is the town budget for the year. And what we usually do again is take the school items separately, so that out of courtesy to the superintendent, so she doesn't have to listen to all the rest of it if she doesn't want to. But Joan, are you prepared to make a motion for the first three?
Sure. I move that the town raise and appropriate the funds needed to defray the charges and expenses of the town with respect to the Southern Berkshire Regional School District, as described in the fiscal year 2022 column in lines 1, 2, and 3 of the feature account in the warrant for this meeting.
Second.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second relating to the first three lines of Article 11. So please, Superintendent, if you would come in and speak to that.
Hi, Beth Regalbuto, Superintendent of Schools. We worked really hard to build a very, I think, efficient and effective budget this year. Our overall increase was, I think it's 1.73% overall. We thought really long and hard about how best to use the monies that we received from the state in grant funds, and instead of inflating a budget that we couldn't sustain in future years, we chose to allocate those funds to repairs at the main campus. for the HVAC system so that we would not have to come to the towns to borrow. So we're trying to be very mindful of how we're using our funds and at the same time continuously working to improve the educational experience. So I'm happy to answer any questions. If I don't freeze to death, sorry.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? Yes.
Hi, I'm Katie.
My name is Katie Sparks. I'm on 92 North Egremont Road. My question, and I'm glad to hear how you're planning to use the money, will the HVAC expenditures, will they include any COVID-related air handling, air movement, ventilation things? Because it might not be the last respiratory issue.
Well, we've already taken into account, it's really, we had the system fully balanced on the main campus, but the useful life of the system was around 20 years and we're at 31. So it was still operating okay. And we did take additional precautions of putting additional airflow machines in each classroom and, using the facilities to the best, but we want to make sure that it's completely up to date and that we get on a preventative maintenance program going forward. So that's the reason for that.
Any other questions or comments for the superintendent or about this article or the motion in general? All right, seeing none, I will move to the vote. All in favor, raise your yellow cards. Thank you. All opposed, raise your red card. Seeing none, again, I declare the vote unanimous and the motion carries. Thank you. All right, and I think those of you who are veterans of the meetings know that the way we do this is we go through the budget one line at a time. And what I will do, I will only list the line numbers. And if you have a question or an objection or an amendment that you wish to apply to that particular item, please raise your red card and we will put a hold on that item. When we're done with all of the lines, we will know how many are on hold. We'll go back and review those and see what the problem is, whether it's just a question or whether it is a true objection or a desire for change or whatever. And once we have dealt with all that, then we will vote on if necessary, we'll vote on individual lines, and if not, we will vote on the entire motion. So, Joan, are you prepared? All right, well, before Joan makes the motion, we will go through the line items and see if there are any that need to be held and discussed separately. So I'm going to just call your attention to the last column in the warrant, which is the fiscal year 2022. That's the budget we're talking about here. And for comparison, as you see, you can see what last year's number was. So line 4 is insurance. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, town buildings, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, employee benefits. Have a hold on 21 for Jeff. $22, 23, 24, 25, 26, fire department, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. I should take this opportunity to acknowledge Jane Smith, who was our health agent, has done a wonderful job. Thank you, Jane, for being here. 32, 9/11, 33, 34, 35, 36, Eagle Fund, 37, 38, assessor's expense, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and the most important one, of course, 49. Thank you, Carl. 50, 51, 52, 53, little commentary about the peanut gallery, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, Finance Committee, 61, 62. All right. We have a hold by Zach, and 62. 63, Burnington Library. 64, 65, 66, and moving into the town officer salaries, 67, 68, 69, and 70. 71, 71A, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, and 78. 79, accounting. 80, 81, 82, 82A, and 83. All right, well, I believe that we have two holds. If I must. Yeah. So let us go back to line 21. Jeff, you had a question on the employee benefits?
Jeff Blogren, 57 Green River Valley Road. Two questions. In terms of the retirement payout, we expect this to be able to go down, I'm assuming, next year once the retiree happens. Is that correct? And where's the new hire as well?
We are anticipating my friend here, Monty Green, retiring this year. And when he does, if he hasn't used his vacation, sick and personal time, he gets paid out for that. The other increase in that is for 25 years, Monty has never taken health insurance from the town of Alford, and this year he has elected to go on it. So that is one increase. And then when we hire a new person, it's assumed that the two men we have will be bumped up and we will have to hire a third man. We don't know if that person will be single, married, need a single plan, need a family plan. So we've budgeted for the worst case scenario, which is a family plan, or I shouldn't say worst case, highest case. So we had to make that number big enough to accommodate whoever our new employee is. And that's the reason for the large increase. If Monty doesn't retire and we don't hire someone new, that money will flow down to free cash next year if it's unspent.
Okay, Jeff, does that answer your question? Yep. Okay, thank you. Any other questions about that? Okay. Zach, you had a hold on, let me see, which one was it?
62. Yeah, so just question regarding the increase there, more than double of last year.
For the Historic Commission. All right, who's going to, Alice, do you want to answer that? Yeah.
Thank you. The budget was originally 8,000 plus, and what it goes for is that the Historic District Commission organizes the town event each year in September, and it costs around $8,000 with the tent and the entertainment and all the attendant costs. But this past year, the select board asked us to relinquish $4,000 of that sum to go back to the town for other reasons. And so for 2021, we are asking for the same as we had asked for in 2020.
That answer your question? Yep. Okay, thank you, Alice. All right, so, whereas I know there are no objections or amendments to any of the line items, and so Joan will make the motion to approve all of the remaining items. We already passed lines 1, 2, and 3.
I move that the town raise and appropriate the amounts needed to defray the charges and expenses of the town described in the feature accounts in the warrant for this meeting, including the salaries of town officers and employees for fiscal year 2022, excluding lines 1, 2, and 3.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, thank you. There will be no discussion since we already had an opportunity to do that when we were going through the whole procedure. So, all in favor, please raise your yellow cards. Any opposed, please raise your red card.
I'm not in favor of mine retiring.
All right. All right, Tom, thank you. But I think you're in favor of the budget, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, I think we all are going to miss Monty and wish him well in his retirement. So not seeing any objection, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we get to the complicated stuff. So we have two articles here that are similar about making two positions appointed instead of elected, and to introduce the first one, Article 12. Peter will make the motion.
I move that the town change the position of town clerk from an elected position to an appointed position under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 1B.
I'll second that.
Okay, second from Charlie, thank you. Jeff has a question.
Jeff Blaugren, 57 Green River Valley Road. I believe we voted on this last year. Is it just clarification that we do this on an annual basis as needed?
What was your question, that we did this last year?
That was a statement. The question is, are we voting on an annual basis to be able to appoint, give the power to the select board to appoint?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'll answer it. It was going to be on the warrant last year, but we took it off because we wanted to keep the town meeting short, and that's why we took it off last year. So this is the first time the town will be voting on it. And if it's passed tonight, next Tuesday at the town elections, there will also be a question on the ballot whether you approve it, or yes, you have to vote yes or no, because it needs a town meeting vote and a ballot vote in order to pass.
So if we vote on this, and the town votes on it, both in affirming it into perpetuity, we will give the power to the select board to appoint this position.
Correct.
I'm Tim Prenz at 92 North Eggermont Road. I'm just curious what the rationale is for moving it from an elected position to an appointed position.
Let me answer that, please. Peggy Hendon Wilson, Town Clerk, East Road. The reason for this is, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's become increasingly difficult for the town of Alford to fill positions. We have tried and we've tried. We have fewer and fewer people applying for an elected position, and it has become very apparent to the select board that if we do not do something, we are going to be without a select board, a town clerk, a treasurer, a tax collector, because we do not have to require them to live in the town of Alford. This is something we've thought about pretty long and hard about. Who doesn't want an elected official? We all do. But versus having nobody, this is the best bet for us at this point. So we've been looking at all different positions. We're fortunate in that we have an assistant clerk from the town of New Marlborough who is ready and willing to step in at any moment's notice. And hopefully we'll look at other positions as well. I hope that answers your question.
Okay. Any other questions about this article, about this motion? All right, Bruce.
You just said something that was not clear in the motion. So by changing it from an elected position to an appointed position, it can be anyone, the residency requirement goes away, but an elected position has to be a resident. So the reason for this is to eliminate the residency requirement. That's the rationale.
Not to eliminate it, that's not the reason.
Well, the only people who can run for office in Alford are Alford registered voters. If it's an appointed position, that requirement does go away. It doesn't mean the appointing board won't give preference to Alford residents, but it adds flexibility.
Thank you.
Also, I want to make it apparent, this past year has really shown us that if we don't have someone who's committed in this office, last year would have been a perfect example. We saw in the state of Massachusetts a number of clerks who left the position abruptly because they were not being paid for the extraordinary amount of work that they were asked and required to do because of their office. This way, an appointed clerk will actually get paid
for the hours that they work, which I think is incredibly important.
Thank you, Peggy. Any other questions on this motion? All right, then we're ready for a vote. All in favor, please raise your yellow cards. All opposed, please raise your red card. Seeing no red cards, I declare the vote to be unanimous. The motion passes. Thank you very much. And Peter will make the motion, a similar motion for Article 13.
I move that the town combine the positions of treasurer and tax collector and make said position an appointed position under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 1B.
Second.
And do we have a second? Any questions about this? Obviously, the answers will pretty much be the same, I think. Any further questions on this? All right, then we'll move to vote. All those in favor, please raise your yellow cards. Thank you. Any opposed, please raise your red card. Seeing no red cards, I declare the vote to be unanimous. The motion passes. And now, harking back to the beginning of the meeting when I told you to, if you care to, pay attention to the difference between an article and a motion. You can see this in stark contrast here. We have two articles having to do with the Historic District Commission, and the articles are fairly simple, but the motion is going to be a long one. So Alice has been rehearsing, I'm sure, to bring us all the details of what we need to vote on. Thank you, Alice.
Of course, yes. Alice Holstead, Alford Center Road. I move that the town amend the Alford Center Historic District bylaw, Section 5, Commission membership, to read as follows. The commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Where possible, nominees submitted by the Berkshire Historical Society, Massachusetts chapter of the American Institute of Architects, and Board of Realtors shall be considered. Nominees, where possible, should be residents of Alford. Part 2, when the commission is first established, 1 member shall be appointed for a term of 1 year, 3 shall be appointed for a term of 2 years, and 3 shall be appointed in like manner for a term of 3 years. Each successive appointment is to be made for 3 years. The selectmen may appoint 1 alternate member for a term of 1 year, and 2 alternate members may be appointed for a term of 3 years. Their successors shall be appointed in like manner for terms of 3 years. Each member and alternate member shall continue to serve in office after the expiration date of his or her term until a successor is duly appointed. Meetings of the commission shall be held at the call of the chairperson at the request of 2 members and in such other manner as the commission shall determine. Michael, may I explain this a bit?
Well, hold on. First we need a second.
Second.
Okay. Now you may explain.
All right. The Historic District Commission was initially established in 1975, and then it sort of petered out, the activities petered out for a while, and it was reestablished in 2014. I'd just like you to know that you're aware, of course, that we do this annual square dance and the Alford Link celebration and the album, A Snapshot in Time. What you may not be aware of is that we've done other things, including restoring a historic Alford, the painting in the town hall. I draw your attention to the marble posts and crossbars at the center cemetery that have been restored. And we've also were behind the railings, the stairway railings in front of the town hall. The only reason that we're asking for this particular motion is because when we started working on expanding the historic district, which we'll be asking for in a few moments, we reviewed the bylaws that we really hadn't looked at very carefully since 1975, and we learned that in Alford, originally terms were required for a limit of 2 terms of 3 years each. This is not involved in the state bylaw or that covers historic district commissions. So what we're asking is that we have eliminated the limitation on the number of years that members can serve.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Are there any questions for Alice about this? Jeff?
Jeff Blabberton, 57 Green River Valley Road. Is the Historic Commission subject to the open meeting law notifications? Okay, thank you.
The answer is yes. Right. Yes. Any other questions or comments about this motion? All right, then we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your yellow cards. Thank you. Any opposed, please raise your red card. All right, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And as Alice just alluded to, Article 15 is a related article about the district.
I move that the town of Alford amend the Alford Center Historic District bylaw to change the title of the bylaw to be the Alford Historic District bylaw, and further to amend Section 3 Historic District to add 3 properties to the Historic District as follows. Historic District pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 40C of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as amended, an historic district was established in 1975 as shown on a plan entitled Alford Historic District, dated February 13, 1975, and comprising properties labeled on said plan, church, town hall, and schoolhouse. The Historic District in 2021 includes 3 additional properties. Number 9, Alford Center Road, also known as the Parsonage, Botham Park, abutting the Alford Union Church, and the Triangle, a grassy open area located at the junction of East Road and Alford Road, and in front of Botham Park. Boundaries are noted on the attached map labeled Exhibit A of the Alford Historic District, Alford, Massachusetts, and are on file in the office of the town clerk.
Thank you, Alice. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. I was just informed by town council, by the way, that this motion requires a 2/3 vote to pass, so keep that in mind. Are there any questions for Alice or comments? Bruce?
Bruce Schreiber, West Road. So, I'd like to, I respect all the work that you do, but I would like to express my objection to this motion. The house that we purchased a year or 2 ago without, out of free cash without a vote, is not a historic building. The dump is not a historic building. Why are we expanding what is the purpose of expanding the historic district to include non-historic items? I don't understand.
Well, we're not including the dump. But,
Well, if you look at the map, you are.
well,
The building though is not, it's town hall.
the it's the town hall, yeah. Yes, yes. Right, right.
If this is not a historic house, and we don't have a town hall, I don't understand what you're asking.
Yeah, Shirley.
Have you had the opportunity to read the document that's posted on the Alford website yet, which was encompassed a tremendous amount of work on why this district should be expanded? And it goes into the value of this unique New England town. And that house, while you may not think it's historic, it's almost 100 years old. And it anchors this district. The state of Massachusetts not only approved it, but even asked us to expand further if we could, because we are such a rarity in the state of Massachusetts. So, just one more thing about that. That property is actually already in the district, but it was not noted officially in our bylaws, but it was noted on the map in 1975. So, as far as the state of Massachusetts is concerned, it's already in. So for that one property, we're just kind of codifying it properly. And the two additional pieces were not in the original documentation. So in essence, you could say we're not adding the 7 or 9 Alford Center Road because it's already in, but we're making it official in our own records. But Botham Park and the triangle we are adding. I don't know if that's helpful to you, but I encourage you to go on the website and read the document that we worked very hard on to support preserving this remarkable, beautiful, historic town.
And we just consider it an obvious perimeter. We have not included the cemetery because we were advised by the Massachusetts Historical Commission that might cause problems for families who continue to, use the cemetery. But it's just this circle, and it's very rare in the state, and we just want to be sure to protect it for future generations.
Thank you. Any other questions for the Historic Commission? No. Then we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your yellow cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your red cards. We have one vote against, so it is more than a 2/3 yes vote, so the motion carries. Thank you very much. And almost finally, we have Article 16, having to do with the regional school district work that Lucy has been and others have been involved in, Jeff has been involved in. Again, Joan will make the motion.
Yes. I move that the town raise and appropriate the amount of $8,000 for the purpose of supporting the work of the Regional School District Planning Board.
Second.
Thank you. Lucy, would you like to speak to this?
Hi, everyone. Lucy Prashker, Old Barrington Road. Good to see everyone tonight. It's freezing. Yeah. Can I take this down? So thank you. All right, great. So last year, I let you guys know that we had formed the Regional School District Planning Board. I'm the chair. It's made up of 3 representatives from each of the 8-member towns. The 5-member towns that comprise the Southern Berkshire Regional School District, and the 3-member towns that comprise the Berkshire Hills Regional School District. We've got 24 members of the board, 3 members from each of the 8 towns. We've been at it about a year. We got a state grant last year of $50,000 to do the first phase of our work, which was really looking at where we are now, assuming we do nothing different. Where will we be in 5 years in each of the 2 school districts? And what came out of that work was that enrollments are projected to continue to decline. State funding is projected to continue to be flat. And given those 2 things and the increased pressure that will be on both regional school districts going forward, we decided it made sense to look deeper at what other options are possible. So we are now in that next phase of work, and we're going to be looking across a broad spectrum of possibilities, from sharing services on one end of the spectrum to full K through 12 consolidation on the other side of the spectrum, with consideration of other options in between, including the possibility of just merging the high schools. So that's what's on the plate for the next year. We were very fortunate to get a second state grant of $125,000 for the next phase of the work. Right now, that money has to be spent by June 30 of this year, which is a tall order. We're working very hard on getting an extension of that deadline to December 31, but that would be the outside deadline. And we need funds to continue the work through the next fiscal year, June 30, 2022. So we have gone to each of the 8 towns and asked each of the 8 towns to give us $8,000 for a total of an additional $64,000, which together with the state grant of $125,000 covers what we're budgeting we're going to need for this next phase of work. And you may ask, why does it cost so much money to look at consolidation options? And the answer is it's very complicated and requires a lot of outside help, a lot of outside consultants to look at financial feasibility, operational feasibility, educational feasibility, and advisability. It's a lot of work. It's very complicated. We've got 24 very committed volunteers on the planning board, but we need outside consultants to help support the work. So we're very pleased that the Finance Committee and Select Board are supporting this request. And since I'm the last on the agenda tonight, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank the Finance Committee and our Select Board for all the incredible work they've done to put this meeting together tonight. I know it looks simple when it gets to this point, but it's an incredible amount of work, and I really appreciate it, Joan and our Select Board, how much you do for the town. And also that you're supporting this particular warrant article. So I'm happy to answer whatever questions folks have.
Thank you, Lucy. Are there any questions or comments for Lucy or anyone else? Okay, I think you've solved it. We'll move to a vote. All in favor, raise your yellow cards. Thank you. Any opposed, raise your red card. I see no red cards, so the motion passes unanimously. I need one more motion to be made before we can leave here. A motion to dissolve, please. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to dissolve the meeting and a second. All in favor, please just leave.